Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men in power want? More power.
My name is Luca Zanna. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a drill. If you're listening to this broadcasting, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
We're not afraid.
Hi everybody, this is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on UnitedStates.fm network. This is an emergency broadcasting, and I do not use this word, just because to try to make some drama out there and get you excited. This is real. I'm just a regular guy, and I was even born here, but I've been in this country for more than 17 years now, okay? And I've been trying to study what's going on with this global government, with this tyranny upon us, with these, unfortunately, scenarios of complete tyranny and martial law. And the last 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks, with this new coming event that it's already here called Jade Helm 15, even I'm not really an expert, but probably I'm more than the average person out there. I still think that there is something more than we've been told. And my guts, this is my human instinct of survival. It tells me that something is wrong for many reasons. But, who am I? I'm just a regular guy with an accent. I wanted to bring you a guy here, a man who has been talking, studying, sharing, trying to warn us the last 30 years. This man was out there trying to warn us about the coming New World Order before even the internet was available to civilians. So I thought, I'm so honored to have again, this is my third time I have him on my show, Mark Koernke from Michigan. Mark from Michigan, are you there?
Yes, I am, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. No, thank you, because I know you're busy. You got your show going on. And by the way, before we start, remind everybody the name of your show, that everybody knows it, but how they can listen to you.
And we're on libertytreeradio.4mg.com. My program is the Intelligence Report, and we've been running for 20-plus years, actually, 23 years now. And we do a morning program from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's on themicroeffect.com and libertytreeradio.4mg.com. Then in the afternoon from 5 to 7, and then from 8 to 9 p.m., another 3-hour block. There's a little break in between there. And that's on libertytreeradio.4mg.com and indianafreedomtalkradio.com. And that's Monday through Friday for both the morning and afternoon programs. So, a lot of hours put in.
I know, and that's why I want to thank you for that. You talk all day, and to have an extra even 20 minutes with us, we really appreciate it. Now, straight to the point, Mark, we've been studying this situation, scenarios of complete martial law and destruction of our republic. Jade Helm 15, okay? A lot of people have been writing articles and a lot of speculations. What do you think about this? What's going on here, in your opinion?
Well, I think this is an extension of the failure of the government and the internationalists last year to take real estate in the West, number one. Mm-hmm. This is the comeback. Part of it is that BLM, working with the Communist Chinese, was desperately trying to confiscate not just the Bundy Ranch, but a whole string of properties across the West. It would have ended in an offensive that would have taken hundreds of thousands of acres from the ranchers in the Red River Valley. Yeah. Starting with the Bundy Ranch and then ending probably there as a cascading, event. None of that happened because the Bundy Ranch was a kickback. The general population, nobody cried about the feds being pushed on or, being run out of town on a rail for what they did. So we've got an international group with a vendetta. The idea is to come back with, again, greater force, and they're behind schedule. That's another issue. Remember, last year this was all supposed to be done, and other things were supposed to be in the circuit this year. Mm-hmm. Barry Soetoro / Obama is nothing more than a meat puppet for other people who are manipulating him, and the marching orders were given and things were not completed. So what we're seeing now is an implementation of additional coercive force or the deployment of resources to, again, continue with the agenda. It's tied in with the UN. Agenda 21 is part of it. An ongoing, of course, surrendering of the border and remanipulation of the American people into serfdom has been the agenda all along, and they're getting frustrated. The military, of course, is in motion, as we know, but it's many different aspects and components that normally wouldn't be participant that are interesting. A lot of Guard and Reserve units have had their schedules completely readjusted or thrown out the window. They're not following by normal procedure. They're not listed with the special warfares groups, but they have been shifted to the areas that are part of the Jade Helm exercise. So this is in and of itself a very critical component that it really hasn't been probably touched on very much. We've been talking about it. And all of this has been, as far as identifying it, is through first-person contact with people that either I've trained with, people I trained traditionally as an OPFOR commander years ago that are now still in the system.
Wow.
And they're telling us that they've thrown the schedule out the window. They've been shifted from their respective states. Example, Texas Guard units are being shifted instead of from even going overseas or participating in in-state exercises, have been shifted to Arizona, Southern Nevada, Eastern California, and parts of New Mexico. Now, Texas is on the schedule with everything else that's going on, but it's interesting, these forces have been shifted sideways. They also are reporting, in fact, I had first-person conversations that where normally if you're in the military, we have a pre-deployment process where we get personnel on the ground, housing is set up, or tonnage and everything is ready to go, there's food there. That's all been thrown out the window also. Right now these units are going to go in bare bones, and they're going to be going into the areas without the normal, logical, preparatory actions that would take place.
Wow, what do you think? But why that? I mean, how they can support themselves?
It's to shift power and probably to camouflage and create confusion with manpower motion, because in reality, there's only a handful of groups that might be stupid enough to follow the orders of the internationalists to attack, say, property holders or mine holder owners, or even whole communities where the communities, they want to run them out of, say, the Rocky Mountains. Utah's in that situation. Idaho's in that situation. Parts of Montana are in that situation. So if they start with basically as a property grab offensive, then they also need people out there to create the fog of numbers while the dirty players do what they need to do, and then maybe drag the rest of the poor fools into it that don't know what's going on.
What do you think? Is this like a dry run, or there is going to be some real action? I mean, people are speculating. Of course, we'll never know till it happens, but what do you think? What your gut's telling you?
Well, I think it's real. I think, number one, the reason is like last year was very real. Let's ask everybody a simple question. Did the Bundy Ranch happen, yes or no?
Yes, I was there.
And everybody saw the force on the ground, didn't they?
Yeah.
The cattle rustling took place by the federal government.
Yeah.
They pushed women to the ground. They grabbed women and threw them to the ground. In a crowd where there were men my size, these bullies, these parasites, these low knuckle draggers.
Yes.
When they were standing there, did they grab a guy like me? No, they grabbed a woman and turned her upside down, threw her right to the ground. Typical of, again, intimidate or create fear by attacking your women and your children. Now, that was the BLM last year. Now, they eventually it came down to a final, showdown where, they didn't want to hurt anybody. No, that's BS. It wasn't a peaceful showdown that did the job. It was the fact that everybody there in one form or another was armed. They weren't all armed as combat infantry, but they were armed as free Americans.
Yes, I agree with you. Yes.
And everybody was pointing in the same direction, weren't they, sir? You were right there.
Yeah, I was in front of the line. I'll tell you the truth. As a member of the media, I was with my video camera, but I had my M14 in the car. Simple as that. If I was going to make it back, I'm not going to go down without a fight.
Remember, we don't plan on being victims anymore, do we?
But if they start to shoot at me when I'm innocent and I am disarmed and I'm just trying to exercise my First Amendment, at that point, I'm sorry. The line has been drawn. And nothing I can do. I mean, I'm never going to do the first round. But if they shoot us like a bunch of cows, we have the moral duty to defend our lives. That's all I can say.
Exactly.
But,
and that's where they're in a quandary now because, they're as of last year. So what we've got is basically a full year has passed. They were trying to decide how quickly they could employ force because in every aspect of what we're seeing now, I don't care, go across the whole spectrum of what we've seen in the last 2 years. 2 years ago, the federal government pushed, the anti-gunners, the federal government is being manipulated by the communists that are in it, pushed to have Connecticut do the gun ban thing and the magazine ban, and they
Yes.
did. New York did the gun ban, and one thing that nobody's talking about is a full total ammunition registration.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of these actions passed 2 years ago, and they have not been enforced. Now, you're talking 100,000 plus people in Connecticut, and Connecticut's a small state. It's a small little, nation state. New York is much bigger, and New York City by itself has a population that dwarfs Connecticut. Well, in neither of these states have they decided to step forward with enforcement. And the bullet, is already in the air. The trigger has already been pulled. So why haven't they proceeded forward? Well, what's happened is they didn't box us in. The regime, in its bravado and bravura process of trying to puff itself up to, terrify everybody with their rhetoric, are now to the point where they either have to shoot us or they have to back off completely, and what are they going to do with the law?
Yeah, I agree. It's going to become...
That's where we are, and nobody wants to really talk about it that way, but that is the fact. The bullet has already left the barrel, and all of a sudden it froze.
Yeah, it's true.
Because everybody has always said, well, if they try to get the guns, okay, well, here we are.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that gets me is with New York, the ammunition ban last year, this time, 1 year ago, this is April, the complete ammunition registration for New York was supposed to be in place. But nobody from the apparently the technological end wants to step forward and pick up the operation as far as the computing end, because everybody has stated it's impossible. In other words, it will never be accurate. They had 3 different contractors, and none of them have been willing to pick the ball up. So we now have a situation with bad law, with bad, again, wretched creatures behind it trying to push it for the sake of the internationalist police state, and there's no place they can go unless they simply go violent.
And probably they want to set the example, because the Southwest, they know if we go down, the rest of the nation is going to follow pretty much.
Right, and again, at the same time this was happening, we have the overlap with the Bundy Ranch. The Sandy Hook thing, which I believe was completely fabricated. It was all a spook and kook operation.
Yes, we had a
I've
guest.
seen that from the inside. I'm looking at it now from the outside, and it's no different. And that overlapped with this, and then of course the Bundy Ranch overlaps, and the Bundy Ranch situation. Well, remember, they tell you it's futile to resist, they're all powerful, and then all of a sudden the entire regime had to step back.
Yeah, exactly. That's psychological warfare they're using on us. And also another thing, the time frame. They say it's going to start, in the middle of summer, July, and then all the August or something like that. I believe they're already starting now. I mean, I see already in California, they're already in Ontario, they were National Guard simulating, this sort of fighting the protesters. I mean, boots on the ground. What do you think? This is going to be probably not exactly what they're telling us they're going to do. They're going to do maybe something like normally they do in warfare. They tell you tomorrow we will attack, and they attack probably the day before. What do you think?
Well, whatever they try, first there's going to be a test phase to see if they can start to push and then just work like silly putty and molasses. In other words, the idea is to press and see how many people they can just get to roll over. The little mine situation in Southern Oregon is the best example. There are 2 owners. The one owner basically said, I've had enough. They came and threatened us, and they said they were going to, basically they know the scenario, they burn places out.
Wow.
The guy has explained this on YouTube on an excellent video everybody needs to watch. But the other owner is like, I just want things to go back the way they are. Well, this is what they count on, is they try to create division, and then there's one party who's weaker and will buckle, and they use that as the weak point for the molasses and the silly putty to push through like amoebas.
Yes.
Like an amoeba. And then they use that weak board, and that's how they try to push everybody back. The problem they've got is that weak board isn't going to collapse this wall, because this isn't the 90s, the 80s, or the 70s, or the 60s. This is a different world, and it truly is another century. It's got a lot of the problems that they've created for themselves that they aren't thinking about. First of all, these creatures hate Christians, and they hate Christianity. Now, because of that, they've been attacking Christianity in the school systems, etc. Well, beware, you get what you pay for. Now you've got a lot of people who do not have any of the social mores of Christianity, and they can see the writing on the wall and hate the regime for what it's doing. they're not going to hesitate because they have any kind of concern about, the arguments they've used to keep the Christians in check here when they have played police state. Those are all gone out the window. So there's a whole bunch of people here that are younger and hard chargers who really look at them as no different from anybody else who would have to be put down because they're a threat. And there's none of the other concern. It doesn't mean there aren't Christians out there. There are. It doesn't mean that some of these people have Christian values. Well, but they apply them to those people who, well, they should be applied to, and others who feel that they're beyond all of that, treat them accordingly.
Yes.
And that's where the difference is, and they really haven't understood that they're pressing on an envelope that is not going to collapse. This is not going to buckle the other way, with us retreating.
Mark, what do you think? And according to your analysis, how many troops, mostly supposedly the special forces, or at least that's what they say, beside, of course, the National Guard they're using, what type of numbers are we talking about here between all the 10 states? Now the state seems to pretty much get bigger.
Well, over the 7 states, the force strength element, a lot of the SF groups are company strength, as far as the elements they're concerned. So that would be anywhere from 100 to 140 men. A percentage of whatever they're fielding are support personnel. They're not directly involved in the fighting. So while you can see a deployment of 20 or 30,000 personnel involved in cooperation, you have to figure that what they're counting on are these special warfare units or even the guard units used as kind of like a surgical strike element. Each state would only have a percentage. The problem with this for any type of action inside the U.S. is if we start shooting them, then they have fewer surgeons to work with. And that's the attitude everybody's got to take. If you're going to fight, you fight to destroy the other side. You don't fight to converse with them. You're not going to get any conversation out of them. They're going to try to come in stealth, and they're going to try to, murder or to acquire and, carry away. Well, you can't afford to be acquired and carry away, so you need to fight. And if you fight to do as much damage as you can. Even if you don't kill them, if you blow a leg off something and you wound a whole bunch and you kill the rest, the ones with the legs missing aren't coming back to bother any of your friends, your relatives, your fellow patriots, or whatever. Well, they don't grow them on special, like genetic patch, trees off to the left here. It takes time to build a soldier.
Yet, but one question I want to be sure the listeners understand. Okay, we also on AM. This is not some sort of dramatized talk. We're talking about a movie or we're talking about something just to entertain you. This is real. Let me specify. I'm a very peaceful man. I hate violence. I would not hit a fly unless I have to defend myself. But my point is this one. We are talking about the scenario that there are people who will follow the orders like happened in many other parts of the world during history, and they will get you out in the middle of the night normally, and this is proven also in their documents of Jade Helm 15. They're saying they will operate between, let's say, 11 o'clock at night till 4 o'clock in the morning, the typical time when normally they come and storm your home, for pretty much situations that happened before. Now, every one of us must decide. First of all, my opinion is the moment that they come at your door is already too late. There is no way you're going to win, but at the point you have a choice to decide if you want to live the rest of your hours, or maybe the rest of your few minutes you have as a free human being, or you want to probably beg on your knees at the mercy of people that probably they may torture you. And people, if you don't believe that, I'm sorry, I already said many times, we are living right now under the National Defense Authorization Act. If the president would authorize a strike, or any of us, right now, me and Mark, we're talking about things protected by our First Amendment, but let me tell you something, just because of our talk or our conversation, we could be labeled domestic terrorists. Potentially, we know any type of due process, we no judge, no jury, no trial, and just because suspected of such status, we could be kidnapped, tortured, and killed. If you don't believe it, just go to see National Defense Authorization Act 2012, and of course 13 and 14. So Mark, this is a serious matter. That's why I'm saying this is not a game. And when Mark is saying things like that, we are not looking for trouble. But if somebody comes at your door with the purpose to kill you or to kidnap you and make you disappear, that's your call. I'm not going to tell you what you have to do, but that's your call, and you must decide. I hope you're not going to be at the door. The moment that they come to your door, I hope you already have a plan. You already had the opportunity to have a plan to organize with your family and your community. What do you think about, Mark? What do you think about this?
The very first thing that needs to happen, number one, is we can't disappear if everybody is connected. And that's where everybody needs to be talking to everybody about this threat. Because organizing, arming, equipping, and training as militia for mutual defense is it was there before this country.
Exactly.
The American Revolution was fought by militia organized before the war started. They were already in place. Again, we just passed April 19th. The shot heard around the world, the anniversary, which is Patriots Day, by the way,
yes,
of Lexington and Concord. Well, those militias didn't just pop up at that minute. They had been organized, and they were organized because of the bureaucracy / the king's men's threat to the livelihood, the safety, and the liberty of the people. And we're in the same situation right now because we have so many layers of alien structure now inside this country that have no business being here. Bottom line is we have an individual in the Oval Office that is totally unqualified by his very position and his birth to be in the position he's in, which makes the last 7 years of this administration illegitimate, which nobody in government wants to talk about.
Exactly.
Because if that's the case, then, for instance, any signature or signing activity by this alien working for this corporation that they've created, because that's really what this is all about, well, this alien, who, of course, does not qualify per the requirements of the Constitution and Bill of Rights of these United States, well, everything that he's done then is null and void.
Exactly.
Which means like, for instance, everybody's worried about the Obama Health Care Act. Well, did he sign it? It's illegitimate.
Exactly.
If he didn't qualify as president, and this is what they're terrified that people will ask the right question, the controlled media is avoiding this. Mm-hmm. Every aspect of what's been done for the last 7 years, in no way, shape, or form, is part of our form of government.
Exactly.
It is something that is followed through. In fact, we now have. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mark. I was like, go ahead, please. Continue.
Oh, there's a little feedback there. That's what it is. The reason I bring this up is that because all these individuals have an oath of office. They all knew that there were requirements laid down by the Founding Fathers for a reason based upon loyalty. And that is the issue. We have these internationalists, and internationalists are bad for America. It is not that we have never had trade with the world. That's BS and nonsense. Everyone has had international trade. Mm-hmm. Hell, you have to have international trade if you actually decide to build a pencil. If you just looked at what's required to build something as simple as a graphite pencil, you must have international trade to do it, and we always have had. We're a nation of traders. We started out doing that, as in merchants. We dealt with the world before the American War for Independence, though they tried everything they could to restrict it, and did. And afterwards, we virtually traded with the world.
Yes.
So if anybody says, "Well, you guys aren't international, you aren't in favor of trade," oh, I'm fully in favor of trade. But only an idiot or a fool would compromise the sovereignty of the nation state that you are a part of. That, of course, ensures that your wealth is protected. If you have a political philosophy, the objective behind that nation state is to generate a particular protection of that political philosophy. And if the border is not maintained, the state does not exist. And they know that. That's what this whole scam is about, step by step, stupefying the population.
Exactly. And I really believe, this is the point. They need to implement this global government, and America, at least the Americans who still understand what's going on, they need to go down. I mean, we've been talking about that long times. And right now, another piece of information that people must understand. You need to look at this like a puzzle. And maybe you don't want to focus on just one element of the puzzle, because maybe you say, okay, maybe you're just exaggerating after all. The National Defense Authorization Act, after all, that would be enough, by the way, guys. If you understand the gravity of the situation. Now, they could use this military pretty much to knock you out and knock you down, out of your rooms, out of your homes, and you disappear, like happened already in Chile under Pinochet, General Pinochet. But now, for example, another important thing that is there, it's on the White House website, it's not a conspiracy. It's called Executive Order 13603, emergency and non-emergency powers. This is official from the White House website, and if people don't believe me, please go check it out. We have now a man, or at least what it says is a man, acting as a president that pretty much he thinks has a magic pen, okay? He can write miracles. Out of this executive order, pretty much the administration, Obama, under an emergency, they pretty much can be almost everything. The economy could be every false flag they can create. He can pretty much take control of all the water, all human and animal food. That means also your food in your home. All transportation. That means also your cars. All energy, all construction materials, all health resources, all farm equipment, all fertilizers, all fuels, and much more. Go read it. So it's like a web. The spider, this black widow, huge black widow, I'm not trying to be funny, it's true, but it's not even black, it's brown, for God's sake. Okay, I wish it was black, at least a real black man. No, it's not even, it's a funny even there. But the point is, this black widow is already pretty much, even before him, let's not give him all this credit, it wasn't just Obama. This has been going on at least the last 35, 40 years. But they have all these pieces of executive orders that all they need now is a crisis, and they already have line up, like in a chess game, all the different pawns, and the 7 states, they are ready for martial law. And when martial law comes, means that we are completely slaves, and they can kill you, they can dispose of you, and they can take care of everything you own, it's theirs. The federal government will claim ownership. What do you think about this, Mark? I mean, am I right?
Well, that is what this, if you think about it, not just us, but in reality, let's look at the economic structure they've set up. We have trillions of dollars of digits that don't exist.
Exactly.
They have been fabricated out of thin air purely by a machine that is running like a whirlpool blender. You throw $1 in, and immediately it is monetized 11 times, 11 times, 11 times, and that same dollar is only worth still $1. That digit they've put in there. Well, the thing is that in the process with the global economy scam, the way it's set up right now, this fictional paper made up of fictional digits has been marketed all over the planet. Well, certain customers have bought those bills.
Yeah.
One of them is China. Now, China is they're communists. They're a corporate monopoly, and nobody likes to hear that if they're a communist. They're a corporate monopoly. That's what they are. They're the only ones that do business within their borders. Others are allowed to come in and play, but they maintain control of it. Well, they also maintain control of whatever they have paper on. They expect payment, or they expect compensation.
Exactly.
And the whole thing about the western part of the country with this thing with the BLM last year was communist China demanding compensation in capital.
Yes, the one their assets. We are the assets now, the collateral, okay? That's the bottom line, guys. We must understand that. Now, what do you think about, first of all, this Walmart closing? Is something you think is connected, or maybe just a coincidence? There are 6, 7 Walmarts shutting down, like with no any type of notice, just 5 hours before.
Well, the Walmart thing, the people are now debating that back and forth. Here's how it works. We don't have to worry about this cycle with Walmart. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that proven, almost 15 years ago now, that Walmart has had an ongoing contract with the federal government tied into FEMA. Mm-hmm. Now, they're no different from even the car companies have the same kind of arrangement. We have acres of buildings all over the state of Michigan. It comes into hundreds and hundreds of thousands and then millions of square feet of factory space. Well, the federal government uses it for clandestine operations. Yeah. They do it right now. Pontiac Airport, right across from it, there's the old Jeep plant. We're not supposed to know about it. The whole complex, they use it for, they fly into the airport, they drive right down the street. They're blatant and arrogant. They go right into the parking lot, they drive right into the building, the doors open up, the door is shut, they're inside. So there's an example right there of something we could demonstrate, and we have for years. We've brought this up on the air in the programming we've done for as long as it's been going on. Hell, I got photographs of them coming into the airport from the air traffic controllers who were watching them. So there's an example of something that's done on a regular basis. For years, many corporates have had constant contract banner arrangements. It may say Walmart on the outside, but whatever's on the inside could be anybody.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and that's the whole thing. Walmart has a massive fleet of trucks. They can consign and separate, and they get their little payment off to the side for the use. And if they have a parked fleet of trucks because business is down, which, by the way, most of these companies do, well, those aren't empty trucks anymore. Those trucks are those tractors and those trailers are doing something else.
Exactly.
And Walmart's buildings are the same way. So yes, I believe, despite what everybody's saying, I know they've got disputes. They always have had labor disputes, etc. in this country. Walmart right now is having theirs, but it's not just tied into that. It's in specific areas, and it's the fact that it coincides with this window of activity that makes it very logical that even if this just happens to be because of the timing, that it's convenient, it works into the plan. Walmarts are set up like massive warehouses. Everything's on wheels. In 1 minute, it could be, in one day, it can be Walmart, and the next day it could be a temporary detention facility or a storage facility.
Yes. Mark, I tell you, this is kind of a part is almost exciting, but unfortunately, this is not a movie. It's real. I wish things were boring and normal. Like when I came to America, I thought everything was peachy and, coming to the land of the free. But it's also an honor and also a responsibility because this is happening under our watch. If we fail, the next generation, if we lose, they're going to never get up. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to get out of this tyranny because they're already brainwashing the new generation to make them pretty much believe that what tyranny is good. And I tell you, I have the sense that something is going to happen pretty soon. Even if this is Jade Helm is just a dry run, they do not spend millions of dollars or billions of dollars for such a big scale operations for just to train. I mean, my question is, what do you think? Many people tell me, even if this is true, our soldiers, they will never shoot us. Our soldiers, they will never disarm us. First of all, are we really sure it's going to be our soldiers, number one? Number two, Katrina, it shows us differently. National Guard and some of our soldiers, they were doing exactly following the orders. What do you think?
Well, I think as far as the scenario mapping out the way it is, that's exactly where we're heading with regard to the conflict. With their proceeding with a level of arrogance, the likes of which I don't think we've seen in all the years that we've actually been facing off against the threat. I think it's rather fascinating to me that the bravado element of this is amazing, considering that they don't really have the backing. The other side is wanting to proceed. They feel that they've dumbed down the population enough because, the yes men in Washington got to Washington by being yes men.
Exactly.
So while, they are screwing the brains of a lot of people out there, I mean, we got to admit, how many people on Prozac in this country?
Yeah.
And while the public fool system has been, bollocksed up badly, there are enough people that have kind of this contrary minds out there that the numbers are sufficient to counter-strike or to, again, disrupt the agenda, which is what's been going on all along. There's always a certain number of people, despite how many drugs they put out there, either illicit or government-sponsored.
Yeah.
It still hasn't worked for them. I think they're frustrated in that respect. They believe in their isolation that they're at the point where they can go for it. In reality, though, let me give you an example of something that everybody has been talking about here the last week.
Yeah.
They just stated that personal firearms ownership, that right now pro-firearms attitude outnumbers the bad guys officially now, which, by the way, I don't think it ever changed. I think it always has been.
Mm-hmm.
But they're being forced to acknowledge that people out there believe they need to defend themselves. And it's a combination of things. They see big government going bad, and they see the criminal element the government's doing nothing about.
Yeah, they're part of the government, is part of the criminals, unfortunately. They start to understand that.
You got to have a scorecard, right?
Exactly. I mean, when you start to see, they can confiscate your property without due process. People start to wake up. They can pretty much design you. I mean, designate you like domestic terrorist. And just because suspected, not even a due process, you disappear. I think even my dog gets it now, okay? I mean, that's the bottom line. Now, you've been studying this for years. You've been trying to warn us for years. I watch your videos before even I could speak English, for God's sake. I remember that. Now, unfortunately, I wish you were wrong. I wish all this was still away. But maybe part of me, I tell you, I hope it gets as soon as possible, because I'm telling you something. What my fear is, the next generation is going to be so brainwashed they would never even understand what they're going to pretty much face. I mean, we still have good people out there. They're still young. There's still enough veterans. There's still enough men and women who understand what we are facing. At least we can try to stop this. I hope peacefully. I hope we can do it. But regardless, I know many of us, maybe we're not going to make it, but we will try the best. Now, my point is, what is your advice? Maybe the word advice I don't think is right, but your opinion, feedback, suggestion. that you would like to give to somebody that pretty much finally woke up and kind of freaking out a little bit? And what do you think should start to prepare for the next 2 or 3 months, this summer, this hot summer?
Most important is, well, first of all, for a person waking up, step back, take a few deep breaths, and calm down, number one. Because a calm mind will respond rather than react.
Exactly.
What you need is response. We're not talking about panicking at any point here. Instead, just the reverse. We are adults. We see the threat. We are educated. We are competent. So what we need to do is look at personal preparedness. And in fact, even if somebody tells me, I don't have that much money, everybody can do something at this time with little or nothing, especially if you just focus a small amount of resource. But even with what you can get in the way of freebies or whatever off the shelf, if you can't buy a water storage system or a purifier, all else fails, fill up as many recyclable containers as you can, stuff that you can get, pop bottles, whatever, and put water on the shelf. It's free, but water is life.
Yes.
Water is, in fact, everybody's talking about this on the internet, that they want to control water. Well, why? Because water is life. Everything that each person does individually changes the enemy's math formula for their assumption of how they can manipulate people and within what period of time. The timeline is more critical than anything to understand. There is an A to B, B to C, C to D to E to F step-by-step process that they plan on using. But it's based on the hope that you will not be prepared.
Yes.
If the population had food and water on the shelf, if nothing else, and each group has a little different, it doesn't make any difference. The idea that within 3 days, 3 weeks, or whatever, everybody would be starving, the formula changes. Well, the thing is, everything that we're talking about here with regard to manipulation of the population is based upon reaction and, again, knee-jerk reaction.
Yes.
Response, on the other hand, is where we intelligently look at it. Phase one, we've already got some preparedness on the shelf. Phase two is as we see things really going to hell in a handcart, and right now we have some major warnings, advance your preparedness so that you have more food, more material on the shelf that is useful to you. Then arm yourself to defend yourself, but also to mutually defend each other's interest. This is what nobody focuses on. The Founding Fathers, each man had different interests to a degree, but all understood their common interest with regard to property and personal liberty.
Yes, exactly.
That's the key. We're not going to become animals, and we don't need to become animals. The Founding Fathers, men were fishermen, they were shipbuilders, they were merchants, they were, people of many walks of life. But they understood that the threat to all of their threads of life came together in the idea that the system wanted to tax them for everything that they owned, everything that they did. No matter what they did, it would be spied upon and watched upon. Well, isn't that what we're describing now? And they decided that they didn't have to get to that point to realize they had to stop it from happening, to make sure it did not take place.
Mark,
that's where we all are right now. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're right. This is so important, guys. I mean, the bottom line is it's millions of us, okay? We may have different opinions, some issues. We may have sometimes we don't like each other. But when it comes down to our lives and our liberties, we must understand that we can stop tyranny. We can stop evil. This cancer would even start the moment that they understand that we are together. What happened at the Bundys last year? Just a few hundreds of us as regular people, just because we said no, we'd rather die than pretty much let you take somebody else's property. As you were saying, property, it's connected to freedom, and the first property we have, it's our body. That's the first piece of real estate every one of us has. I don't care if you're rich, poor, whatever. We have our own body, and our freedom is the most important property. So we must stand together. Mark, I was going to tell you something. I never met you in this life, even, of course, I've been listening to you many times. I listened to your show. You've been a kind of an inspiration for me to learn all these evil things that I prefer to know than avoid, because at least I have a chance to do my part. But I'll tell you, man, I realized that the moment, if this is true, if this is going to happen, you are on their list, probably the top 5, okay? They got top position, like a hit parade. You're going to be between the top 5. I'm going to be pretty much a little lower than you, of course, but I think we're going to be in the same list. And I don't think I'm going to make it to the FEMA resorts because probably they're going to find me pieces, wherever I'm going to be. I'm not going to comply. But I hope to meet you, man. I hope to meet you in a better situation than this hell one day.
Our goal is to be victorious, and at the end, we might have an eye missing, might limp a little, but the other guys are going to be in worse shape.
Exactly.
Just think about that battle scene from Braveheart. Remember the first battle? You guys act like you're retreating. Swing around to their flank and come up from behind, and we'll meet you in the middle.
Exactly, you're right.
I'll tell you what, you're down there in Arizona, I'm up here in Michigan. We'll just keep beating on them until we meet somewhere around, how about Iowa?
Listen, guys, and for the listeners, probably we shock you a little bit. Oh my God, what are you talking about, guys? I wish all this talk was a bunch of conspiracy. It's happening. Google Jade Helm 15. Google Obama's executive order. Look, just now, $62 million just last week, the Obama administration through Homeland Security, they purchased hollow-point ammunition, $62 million on top of the 2 billion rounds. I mean, guys, if you don't get it now, that's fine. Change channel and laugh at me. I don't care. I'm trying to reach out people that understand. All I say, investigate, do your researches, because not because it didn't happen here. By the way, it did happen here. I remind you that FEMA camps, they weren't called FEMA camps. They were called internment camps for the American with Japanese descendants. American, just because they were different color of the skin and they were Japanese or even Germans or even Italian descendants, during World War II, the piece of socialist crap, FDR, put them in jail, put them in these camps and ruin their lives and destroy their businesses. So yes, the FEMA camps happened before. Unfortunately, it did happen. Now we all can become part of that plan. Not anymore some specific ethnic group like the Indians happened before and then the Japanese American. Now it's gonna be all of us. Patriots, people who believes in freedom, Constitution, Second Amendment. You know the story, guys. I don't need to repeat it to you. So have a plan. And more important, have faith. If you want to have faith, it's up to you guys. But I tell you, I really believe it helped me. And more important, bond with each other. Find your friends. Find like-minded people. Mark, I want to really thank you again because, you're tired. You have a lot of stuff going on. For your help to inspiring others, and to share your information. I want to give you the last 3 minutes. I'll shut up. Whatever you want to say, remind your show, or whatever you want to say, go ahead. Mark Koernke from Michigan. Go ahead.
Most important is support broadcasting like this. Luca's doing his part, you have to do yours. In order for that to happen, you need to spread the word. The best thing you can do, pass on how to listen to this program and how to connect with other people of like mind. You're not alone. You're not the minority. You're the majority. The bottom line is, though, that you have to understand and realize your strength as a free American. If we're going to stay free, we're going to have to fight for our liberty. It's that simple. The bullet has already left the barrel. I don't care who it is out there. I want someone to explain to me what happened with Connecticut and what happened with New York. Because remember, those are sitting there right now like the sword of Damocles. Literally. They're the only option, if we heard anything in the news about the discussion, they're going to repeal the laws in Connecticut. They realized they made a big mistake after 2 years. They're going to repeal the laws in New York. Have we heard that?
No.
We haven't heard that. So with that being the case, guys, the bullet's already left the barrel. This is like the Wicked Witch of the West. Remember, she reached for the ruby red slippers, and what happened? I'll fix you, my pretty. So she flipped the hourglass over.
Yes.
And she was coming back, wasn't she?
Yes.
Now, what could she do to Dorothy? If attacking Dorothy the first time got her nothing but electroshock, she obviously had to go reference information to decide how she was going to come back and do in Dorothy? So isn't that kind of a good analogy for what we have going on here? You've got a 500,000 plus fellow Americans, American patriots, who have already said in Connecticut and New York they're not giving up their guns.
Exactly. Mark, one more time, please give your website where people can reach your show and also support you, by the way.
Fiction. This is a reality. You want to know how much of a reality it is? The controlled media has been told not to talk about it. You can talk about anything, and you can flap your yap about whatever you want to in the way to frivolous garbage, but you'll notice after they told everybody, we're going to come out and get you, well, I believe it, but they're going to have to pick a time. And so far, for 2 years, they've been sitting on their hands. If you get a chance in the morning, www.themicroeffect.com. That's www.themicroeffect.com. In the afternoon, www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com. Again, that's www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com. And, yep, we cover all kinds of subjects, have a lot of fun. We do have the sponsors covered in the morning and the evening. Morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Time to 11. In the evening, 5 to 7, and then 8 to 9 Eastern Time. And both of those are Monday through Friday.
And thank you for sharing my music. I appreciate it, by the way, to share my message, okay? I really do.
And we're going to be adding more of it, as a matter of fact. We just have to work on it. We've had engineering technical issues because we're upgrading, but now all the upgrades are done. So now we're going to be playing DJ work, more than in the past, and your music's going to be heard a lot more.
Perfect.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Which song would you like? I would like to dedicate the show to you and all your crew out there. I mean, normally I like Come and Take It or whatever you want. Live Free or Die.
I am not afraid.
I'm not afraid. I'll pray for you, Mark. Mark Koernke from Michigan. I love you, brother, okay?
Thank you, and thank you for your music, sir, because it's inspiring. And my wife really loves the album you sent. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Hopefully she likes also the little apron that I sent her. Did she get that?
Yes.
Perfect. Hey, thank you very much. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. That was Mark Koernke from Michigan. Stay tuned. Don't go away.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Yeah, though I walk through the valley, the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Your rod and staff, they comfort me. I am not afraid because you are with me. Na 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 I'm not afraid. Na 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 na. I'm not afraid. Na 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 na. I'm not afraid. Na 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 na. I'm not afraid. Na 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 na. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to face the truth. See evil in the eyes. Are you ready to stand for good? There's more than just this life. We are living in crazy times. If you believe it's a crime, I'm not afraid. Na, 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 na. I'm not afraid. Na, 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 na. I'm not afraid. Not afraid. Na, 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 na. I'm not afraid. I can smell pain in the air. People are lost in despair. Dark clouds are on the way. I pray for courage every day. I will fight till my last breath. You give me strength to smile at death. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Because you're with me. I'm not afraid. Because I believe in you.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid.
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Luca Zanna
I'm not afraid.
and his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Luca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
And you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. This is pretty much the final part of the first hour. Don't go away because we have a second hour and third hour loaded with information. I had to rearrange the show this week because I'm sorry, guys. This information of Jade Helm 15, the media, the mainstream media, they are not touching it, and this is concerning. I really believe, even if this is not the real deal, that means it's going to be like a dry run. Think about it. They are pretty much spending millions, if not billions, maybe in the long scene. You know, the big picture is going to cost more than just millions of dollars, okay, of our tax dollar to do this type of exercises. It never happened before in American history to do such a mass scale of military operations on U.S. soil, designing states as enemies and blending with us. I mean, think about it. And then we had to look at this all in the big picture. Obama and the plans of the executive orders and the BLM, as Mark was saying, what they've been trying to do and what they're trying to do right now in Oregon. I mean, this is not over, guys. So it's so important. And I'm sorry, guys, put politics for a moment. I'm kind of... we may have disagreement on politics or socio-economic, but at this point, every one of us, regardless where you stand, left, right, between, doesn't matter. We're all in danger. Because these tyrants, they're not going to look for, are you for Obama or are you for Bush? No, we're all the American people who pretty much believes in different things. We may believe, you may believe in peace. You believe you don't believe in these illegal wars. You may believe in the Constitution. You may believe in the Second Amendment. You may be a Christian. Automatically you can become a target, and regardless, this is serious, guys. So I hope it's nothing, but unfortunately the evidence, it's out there. Before I made a mistake when I say $62 million, no, 62 million rounds of extra 5.56 ammunition for AR-15 or M16 that the federal government just purchased just last week. $62 million on top of the 2 billion rounds. So this is all happening, okay? Now, I'm here, as I said, as an act of love. Don't you think that maybe just being here and talking about these things, even I am nobody, seriously, I'm just what? But you know what? Even probably on the scale from 1 to 10, I am a 1 compared to a Mark Koernke or to an Alex Jones or other people that have been doing this before me. I believe that I'm on target, and I'm one of the targets, and I understand it. I'm telling you guys, my website, www.zanna.us. I sell music there, okay? That's all I do, that's the way I support the show. But guess what? I got visited by the federal government, US government, more than 50 times. I can see through the IP address. And by Homeland Security. I mean, I can see this. I've been visited by the Chinese government more than 300 times the last month. In China, you cannot really go. You cannot break the big Great Wall on the internet unless you are one of the government. They can, probably regular Chinese citizen cannot have access to a site like mine. So something's going on. I understand. I'm not naive, and I don't think I'm going to make it true if this happens. I'll try my best. I'm not going to pretty much say, okay, come and get me and give me whatever you want to do to me. No, I will not comply. But I understand. If I am on that list, and I really do believe I am, like many of you guys, even listeners, I'm not going to coward. I'm not going to go down without pretty much a struggle, because this is also in my dignity as a human being. I'm not that concerned only about my life. I'm concerned also about my dignity as a human being, as an American. I won't become anybody's slaves. Okay, slave. That's the bottom line. But I hope we can avoid it. I don't want violence. I don't want to shoot anybody. I also hope that our soldiers, they will understand the oath of office to defend this constitution and this republic. Because this already happened in history. Okay? It already happened. The soldiers, they were pretty much took over. And they were used against their people. I mean, come on, guys. Okay? So, come on. We got to really start to think. Unfortunately, you can ignore reality. That's up to you. Okay? I don't want to convince you. I'm not here to convince anybody. Okay? I don't get paid. I don't get paid, period. I just get paid by your support if you want me to. But the point, I'm here as an act of law. I'm trying to warn you up. All I'm saying, you can ignore the reality, but you will never be able to ignore the consequences of reality. Have a plan. Try to prepare yourself. Wake up your fellow neighbors. Take care with your family. Stay close to your family, but also have a plan. And don't think that, oh, when they come at my door, I'll take care of it. No, it's already too late. When they come at your door, it's going to be already too late. The only thing you can do is pretty much at least let them know that you're not going to go down. You're not going to follow them in their trucks or wherever they're going to try to bring you, if even they want to bring you. Now, back to this plan. A second hour, exciting guest, and a lot of information. You know, sometimes it's overwhelming, all this, I must tell you. But I'm here. I'm trying to do my best, and I appreciate your support. I really do. As I said, you know, if you want to support the show, you don't need to be millionaire. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to do anything. 99 cents. Seriously, guys. I do my best to bring you the best information that try to help you out, try to unite us. I don't care which party you are. I have no more parties. I became an independent. I believe in the truth. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in freedom. Simple as that. Now, if you want to support the show, there is a way, simple way. The price, less of the price of a coffee, 99 cents. Go to my website, Zanna, ZANNA.us, okay? Or go to lovegunsfreedom.com. There is the music section. You can download any of my songs for just 99 cents. Or you can do one. And then I ask you for a favor. After you download the song, if you can really help me out, do produce a little YouTube with a message. You know, most of my songs, they are with a message, okay? And produce a YouTube. I give you my blessing, okay? And put it out there and try to share with everybody you can. And try to wake up as many people as you can. Sometimes, you know, people may not want to read books, but maybe a song can give them some keywords to try to wake them up. That would support the show and would get this message as loud as possible. Now, as I said, there is also final hour. I had to change everything today. This is so important. We'll talk about geoengineering, chemtrails, and more important about freedom of speech. I have a couple guests from Lake Havasu, and I think something we need to really talk about a little more, okay? Second hour is going to be more about militia with a special guest. Don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.fm network, and of course also on K-Talks 1340 AM. Ciao.
You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.fm network.